Hi, this is Sharon Love. I hope you had a great week since the last video. So today, on this video, I want to talk more about why is it so important. Through many of the other videos, there was mention of really stepping back and really understanding how fear affects you, and really taking the time to write down and to see how your behavior was with regard to fear. This is really important. The main reason is that the more you notice that it's happening, it's like you bring yourself into the moment. And when you do that, two things happen. One is that you get at that moment you get to choose. You get to choose, are you going to continue on with your habits, or are you going to just step back and do something differently? And the second reason is as you choose or you notice it, what ends up happening is that it reduces the power. What I mean by that is what happens to anything you feed. The more you feed it, it grows and it flourishes. And fear is one thing you don't want to grow. So every time that you bring yourself into the moment and you notice it, I mean, that is so huge because you're not just going on by a habit anymore. You're not behaving out of habit. And you are really bringing yourself and taking your power back. And that is so key and important. Let me help you understand what happens when you take your power back. When you take your power back and fear has less and less of a hold in you and it becomes less habitual, what ends up happening is that the world becomes your oyster. When your relationship with fear changes, because it's not an intellectual understanding anymore that it's not real. You get it. It's part of who you are. It's part of your fiber. So, and it makes it easier to move forward. And when you feel your world is your oyster, your life, you're just gonna come alive. It's like it will be like you're living for the first time. I know for me, what happened is I started to love my job. I started to love going to work. I just felt like I can do anything. It's like I wanted to learn a new language. I started registering to go back to school to get a second master's degree. I started to do so many things just because now everything just seemed possible. And what I mean by everything seems possible, it was just that there wasn't a fear about if something seems so big and gigantic. I know sometimes we think and hear about people doing these amazing things, and we're like, oh my God, how do they do that? All they did, they had the courage to take the first step. And that's what's courage about. Being feared and feeling the fear and just moving forward anyway. They had the courage to make the first step. And as soon as you make the first step without even having to figure out what the final destination is, like, oh my God, all the steps that needs to be taken. When you make the first step, about first you decide what it is you want to do and you make the first step, you'll be surprised how many things unfold in the next ideas you come up with, the idea you come up with, what you need to do next and what's the next after that, and needs to happen after that. And it becomes this amazing thing. So anything that comes up and you want to do, any desire you have in life, it becomes like, hey, let me just take the first step. Because after you've taken that first step, the rest of it will just kind of unfold itself because you have squashed fear. You have put fear in its place and you've taken your power back. And this is something that's so amazing. I feel like, I don't know. I've been very self-aware, but this is a whole other level of self-awareness where it just seems like literally, like I feel like the world is my oyster because no matter how big it seems, no matter how huge it seems, anything that I would like to do, I just know I have to take the first step. And fear is what stops us from taking that first step. So we don't even give ourselves the opportunity to see if it's a possibility. And that's really important. And I want you to really continue for the next 2 weeks. Just start again. Just start with little things that you may want to do. Some things that you may consider little and you're afraid to. Just allow yourself to define what it is that you're going for. And after you've defined that, obviously there are details that needs to be worked out to get there. But take the first step. I know there's so many things we all have in our lives where we haven't taken the first step because we're afraid, like, oh my God, how am I going to get there? And or it's too far away, and that's what stops us, and the fear is what's stopping us. So I want you to just do the small little things, tiny little things. Take the first step and see what happens. And after you've taken the first step, just write down what happens and what comes to you. Because as you take the first step, more ideas will come, and then you'll take the second step and you'll take the third step. And as usual, please, I would love to hear from you. Bye bye until next time.